Well, we have our final game of the week, so we got to close it out here with your homeboy, Patrick Mahomes, as they face the Denver Broncos. Like I said, the Broncos, listen, there are good reasons why we both agree that the Broncos are very fraudulent. I mean, hell, they are a 5-6 win team right now currently?
6-5 currently.
6-5 team. They're a 6-5 team, and I still have them in the bottom third of my power rankings. That's kind of the respect I've given the Broncos 6-5 record. And I will take those slings and arrows from fans that will say, like, man, why are you underrating the Broncos? It's just, they had that 3-0 start where they beat 3 of the worst teams in the league. And now they're just in this weird spot where they are shocking the Cowboys coming off that calf injury for Dak. They're shocking the Los Angeles Chargers, who had all the things going in their direction to win that game. Certainly the talent advantage there. We thought the Chargers were more talented than the Broncos. And hell, the fact Teddy Bridgewater, I mean, I don't know what exactly is going to happen at quarterback for the Broncos too, because Bridgewater did get hurt in the Chargers game. He did play in the Chargers game, so he was hurt while playing. So could we see Drew Lock taking snaps throughout this week as we lead up to the game? Who knows? We're recording here on a Wednesday for clerical purposes on how we view this game. And, I think we're going to be in agreement here. So I'll defer to say we're both going to take the Chiefs, right? Yeah, obvious.
Yeah. No, this is the Chiefs.
But the Broncos can make a statement. This was an opportunity for them to make a statement game. I understand why NBC would potentially want this as their game of the week, the Sunday night game, because it's one of the most compelling games, certainly, when you consider that the Broncos are one game out from the Chiefs too. It's so weird.
Let's not do that.
I know. It's weird. And then here's the thing. Andy Reid off a bye week. I guess that's one thing we should also state. Andy Reid off a bye week we get in this game. So
I got time, boys.
We're just going to get hammered with that statistic to start off the broadcast. And I'm completely okay with it because historically that's where his bread and butter is. And I should say, like, man, am I saying bread and butter around Andy Reid? Okay.
Come
on. He plays into it. He doubles down on that KFC double down. We all know it. But anyway,
I know.
What's it say? No, that's Rex Ryan. I was going to say, let's go get a snack, boys.
Yeah. Andy Reid is the guy who, after winning the Super Bowl, went and got double cheeseburgers. That was Andy Reid's thing.
See, out of all the games that I put my research into, I guess I didn't really put as much effort into this game as like the other games, just because I do have my preconceived bias of what I think of the Chiefs versus the Broncos. I'll admit I have a bias on how I view these teams. And the Chiefs going into the bye week, though, I should be honest about it too. Like, that Cowboys Chiefs game was ugly. As a Patrick Mahomes fantasy owner, I can tell you how much Patrick Mahomes has been struggling. It has single-handedly been killing my team.
Yeah,
6 points against the Cowboys. Are you kidding me?
But yeah, I got him and Derrick Henry, so I'm holding on to a playoff spot for dear life.
But again, off a bye, just clean it up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, another week in which he could get healthy, so maybe you could get the running game going a little bit more. I do think that if there was a list of coordinators or a list of defensive play callers, I talk about Justin Herbert's struggle against veteran defensive coordinators. Vic Fangio can play up the game strategies that Patrick Mahomes has been struggling at as one of the best in the league. I'm sure that he's going to double down on the too high safety approach. And that would be where I could see this being a game to add a little bit of intrigue. I could see this game being one that you bet the under on, because the Chiefs offense has been struggling. The Broncos are going to play it very conservatively, offensively and defensively. I think this could be one of those games where both teams score low 20s.
So you would like the Broncos at +10, because I believe the spread is at 10 points right now, which seems like a lot on the surface.
That's okay. But I'm actually surprised Vegas would do that, though, because the Chiefs have been historically bad against the spread for Vegas. Unfortunately, a lot of Chiefs bettors that take them at minus whatever this season have been really disappointed, because they typically don't beat the spread. They've just played in a lot of close ball games, and I could see this one being a close ball game.
I think this means that Vegas sees the possibility. It means a lot of people are betting on the Chiefs, which always happens, and Vegas is moving the line because there's a scenario where this is like a 35-point Chiefs victory, I think is probably the part where they're like, we're concerned about this being a catastrophically big win. I don't even know if I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a scenario. It's just the Chiefs haven't been that team this year.
Well, they've been that team very strategically against bad teams. When they play bad teams, they have been that team. Because I was joking about this for like 6 weeks, and now they haven't done anything like it in 4 weeks. But for 6 weeks, I was like, we keep saying something's wrong with the Chiefs, and they're averaging 36 points a game. Like, I feel like that's just, we're coming to a point where we've gotten used to the Chiefs playing like that. And then, like you said, ugly win against the Packers. Ugly win against the Cowboys, comeback win against the Giants. I forgot which other game was in there. They played, the one where they blew out the Raiders, but that was,
they also got blown out by Tennessee prior to that stretch.
That's fair. Like the Chiefs pre-win streak and the Chiefs now are playing two very different games, because it's not the fun Chiefs offense like we're used to. It's the Chiefs saying, okay, we're going to win by not turning the ball over. If we don't turn the ball over, there's literally no way that teams can beat us. If we just don't have turnovers, if we don't make catastrophic mistakes, none of these teams can beat us. We might win 20-10. We might win like 27-24, but there's no way people can beat us if we don't turn it over and give them opportunities.
And to add to that, that's where they've really excelled in this recent stretch of games, because their defense is forcing turnovers now. So the fact that their defense is being a very opportunistic defense, and that's really what summarizes the Chiefs' success over the last few years, because we keep hammering that they have a bad defense. We all recognize that they're talent depleted compared to other rosters defensively. But what set them apart, particularly in their Super Bowl year, I would say, because that was also another bad defense, they just would get timely sacks or timely turnovers. I think to the Super Bowl, I think about Chris Jones just coming on at the right time to pressure Jimmy Garoppolo, or Tyrann Mathieu making plays down the stretch. That's what summarizes the Chiefs defensively. Spags is still the defensive coordinator for them, correct?
Yes, he is still the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, so then that, he's kind of one of those guys almost in a Bruce Arians type vein of no risk it, no biscuit, the way he sends blitzes and dials up those packages. So as long as they can win the turnover battle, that's a winning strategy for the Chiefs. I mean, it's a winning strategy in general in the NFL. It's just disappointing, obviously, if you're a Patrick Mahomes fantasy owner. It's really disappointing there, because you're not going to get those 4 touchdown, 5 touchdown pop-off performances like you drafted him for. But that's a different conversation in itself.
This could be a week where you get one of those.
It could be, but it's hard for me to okay. So, I mean, I'm going to confer with Drew for the Fantasy Football Podcast, see what his ranking of Patrick Mahomes is this week. But I will tell you, if he has him confidently in the top 5 again, I will be shocked. Mostly because if I was to be objective, completely objective, take out all my biases, take the names off the back of jerseys here, Patrick Mahomes, just looking at his numbers from the last few years and looking at his numbers from this year, I would probably have him as the number 10 quarterback, just because I would probably say, okay, historically, he's been performing at this level, but has been performing at this level during the course of the season. Take out the biases. Number 10 sounds about right for this level of quarterback, from fantasy perspective.
Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, that changes it. And then when you look at everything else that's in there, like advanced numbers, I think Mahomes is like 8th or 9th in passer rating this year, which is interesting. Obviously, we know he has all the touchdowns, and the interception numbers are higher this year. So that's simple math and simple numbers, but sometimes they do tell a story. Even especially for people like us who pretend that we know the advanced analytics, or I who says double high safeties a lot, and it sounds like it means something. But anyways,
it's our spider 2Y banana.
Exactly. Yeah. We throw it out there to make ourselves sound smarter. And my big conclusion from this is the Chiefs are going to win. I'm interested to see how they win, though. The Chiefs are going to win this game, but how is it that they decide that they're going to game plan against the Broncos? Because simply put, I don't disagree with you in the Broncos being like a bottom 3rd team. Like, the difference between 18 and 22 is not that significant. Broncos are just not that talented. Like, the rest of the season for the Broncos at this point is, if I remember correctly, I believe Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers. There's one more game in there. I forgot what it is now. And then they play the Lions. And I know Lions seems like an easy win, but the Lions are looking at their schedule and being like,
Who can we
We
beat?
can get the Broncos. We can get the Broncos.
Okay, well, maybe to give a little bit of more analysis for Broncos fans here, let's look at my power rankings real quick here. So I have the Broncos at 21. I have directly in front of them the Eagles at 20 because we saw that game when we saw the Eagles kick their ass. Then we have Washington at 19, which, okay, if you're a Broncos fan, you say, well, we beat Washington. Well, now Washington's on this 3-game heater and starting to play really well. So are they playing better ball than the Broncos? That's debatable. I have the Browns ahead of them. The Browns did beat them, but I believe that was the 17-10 Case Keenum Thursday night football game. And then I have the Steelers ahead of them. And the Steelers, I mean, for the Broncos, it's like I'm giving the Steelers, I mean, they have somewhat of a comparable record, 5-1 versus a 6-5 team. But I think the Steelers have more impressive wins. They, beating Buffalo week 1, being in that game against the Chargers. I guess though you would say the Broncos kicked the Chargers' ass. So it's kind of where the nuances of power rankings kind of come into play.
The only one I disagree with you on that is the Eagles. And either way, I'm not like egregious that the Eagles are ahead of the Broncos.
Just
like,
head to head, which I think, we talk about the differences between your NBA power rankings and the NFL power rankings. I feel like head to head definitely carries more weight in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's only so many games that you're playing during the season, and it makes these dramatic swings where, if the Broncos lose that game, the Eagles are 6-6 and the Broncos are 5-6. So all of a sudden their records are different at that point.
Yeah. And the nature in which the way the Eagles won that game, I mean, it was never even a game. They went into Denver, I believe. They went into Denver and dominated the Broncos. So the Broncos, are they paper tigers? Yeah. I just can't see them as anything more than that. Their record is a facade. It's Fugazi. Fugazi,
it is because
it's a woozy.
Yeah, because they pummeled the Dallas Cowboys earlier in the year, and they beat the Chargers last week in a game that I'm sure a lot of us picked the Chargers in. So that's kind of an explanation for the Broncos this year. But yeah, they're going to be lucky to get 8 wins on the season, and that's totally fine for the Broncos.
For them, they probably want that Browns game back. They probably want that game back, because if they beat the backup quarterback there, if Von Miller gets his way and actually does, abuse their left tackle, then well, now they're a 7-win team. And then it just starts to get hard to get them out of the playoffs because of math.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Even they don't believe they're a good team. They traded Von Miller like 3 weeks ago. They don't even believe that they're a good team.
Well, maybe that's the key. Hey, 2-1 without Von Miller. Am I right?
Technically, yes. But
0-3 Rams with Von Miller.
Yeah. The Broncos beating the Chargers last week said that was my realization. I'm like, the Chargers aren't that good. The Chargers are screwed. That was last week's game, because not only did the Broncos beat them, they beat them switching quarterbacks, and they beat them wire to wire. And I'm like, the Chargers do have a lot of problems with that roster, don't they? Because that doesn't happen when you're playing a team like the Broncos that we know is not that talented.